There was more to it than that, from the cost of hiring stadiums, to a drain in local and US talent, to a defeatist attitude. But as Melbourne United and the Perth Wildcats duel in what shapes as one of the greatest grand final series, the NBL has become bolshie and no longer prepared to be bruised. Under the stewardship of owner Larry Kestelman and chief executive Jeremy Lawler, the league has undergone considerable transformation but acknowledges there is still much to be done, particularly in the broadcasting media space. We are not shy of the comparison with the NBA anymore. If we continued to maintain that updated approach, that we didn't want to be compared with the NBA because it would be so unfavorable that it would drive audiences away, then we would be nowhere, Lawler said. Instead, we are very proud to be compared against the NBA. On any metric, whether it's our TV production, our entertainment value, or whether it's the numbers the guys are putting up on court, if you extrapolate our stats out from a 40-minute game to a 48-minute game, the statistics are incredibly similar to those of the NBA. I am not saying it's the same caliber as the NBA, we know they are different qualities, but it's a very same entertainment proposition. The last point is, there is no replacement for rooting for your home team, being able to go along to a game in person. Even if you can't attend every game, if you can attend an occasional game, you drive that loyalty and that association with a franchise so much more than just being able to watch on a TV from the other side of the world. I think that is where we have really turned a corner, the statistics to acknowledge that. There were 714,346 fans who attended games during the regular season, up 4% on last year, ensuring a record average attendance of 6,378, which Lawler said equated to an average of about 80% of the stadium being full come tip-off. Last weekend's Game 3 attendance between Sydney and Melbourne of 14,569 was the biggest since 1997. Andrew Bogut's maiden season in the NBL was no doubt a factor, but the Perth Wildcats, for instance, have long enjoyed strong support. Broadcast rights free-to-air audiences for 2 matches per week on Channel 9's 9GO are up 5% this season. That equates to an average audience of 29,907, or an average reach of 158,969, but it should be pointed out that the 2 games are on a Saturday and Sunday afternoon. Fox Sports televises all matches, with an average audience of 12,482 and a reach of 45,278. Yes, these ratings are small compared to AFL, NRL and the Big Bash League, and the challenge remains to convert the average, even discerning, sports fan, far from an easy task. Where the primary football codes and cricket are ingrained in the national sporting picture, basketball isn't. However, Tommy Greer, the former player, Fox Sports commentator and now chief of expansion franchise Southeast Melbourne, Phoenix, said there was no reason why ratings would not improve with some help, in a prime-time slot on one of the main stations, not one of the support stations. I absolutely think the numbers could go bang, he said. If I'm sitting there and I have a choice between Airports Dubai or an NBL game, I would be backing that the majority of the public would want to be watching the live sport. NBL Supremo Larry Kestelman. Credit: Christopher Paulson. Former AFL chief Andrew Demetriou, who is co-chairman with Kestelman on the league's advisory board, helped broker the broadcast rights deal. The NBL is keen on a live Saturday evening game next season. Discussions with Nine, the owner of this publication, are about to open, but Lawler stresses he does not want the sport to be reliant on these fees, rather, they need to be the fuel for growth. This is the first season the NBL has received rights fees from US and Chinese networks, and interest is only likely to grow now that sports betting has been legalized in the US, and could soon be replicated in China. NBL Players Association chief Jacob Holmes said the league was trending in the right direction, but there's always room for improvement. The promotion of the league has reached new levels, which is demonstrated by increased TV coverage, media interest and crowd figures, and this has been embraced and driven by the players. Importantly, the players' remuneration continues to increase year on year, which confirms that they are the central figures within the NBL product, Holmes said. Improved product in the court, teams have averaged 90.4 points a game, the highest since 2009. The average winning margin was 10.75 points, the lowest in NBL history. The standard of imports, several with NBA experience, is strong. Just look at United's Casper and Josh Boone and Perth playmaker Bryce Cotton. As Boone notes, imports are increasingly looking to the NBL. The soft cap, marquee signings and an ability to sign up to 3 imports under new rules introduced in 2016 have paid dividends. It hasn't been forgotten that only 4 years ago the NBL was broken until Kestelman, a co-founder of internet service provider Dodo, bought the league. He controversially replaced the Melbourne Tigers with Melbourne United, the latter in a bid to unite the various major local associations who did not want anything to do with the Tigers, in part because of the Tigers' junior programs. The NBL's game metrics stack up well, while Andrew Bogut's arrival had a big effect. Credit: Chris Lane. League had no broadcast rights deal. One network executive at the time told the Sunday Age he wanted nothing to do with the competition, no major sponsor, little revenue and 2 franchises in administration. Now you can find that sponsors Bunnings, MG, Chemist Warehouse and Hungry Jacks are on board, and the NBL has been smart to have official partners for all manner of things, such as the basketball, even if the financial return is minimal. The financial health of the franchises, however, remains a tricky debate. Greer admitted this was still a work in progress but improving, while one insider suggested owners can run franchises at a loss for tax reasons. The Illawarra Hawks, however, are an ongoing concern. Loliga said the issue wasn't so much about survival, for the Hawks are a beneficiary of the equalisation subsidy, but was more about future growth. The Hawks hosted a game in Canberra this season and that has been seen as something to build on. The league is keen for a 10th franchise to join in 2020 but is treading warily. Another 2 franchises could also come on board within the next 5 years. NBA link: where the NBL and basketball had flourished in the early 1990s, on the back of the tail end of the Larry Bird Magic Johnson era and then aided by the Michael Jordan phenomenon, this time it is benefiting more from local stars who have made good. Bogut began the new wave. Ben Simmons, the boy from Box Hill, is now an NBA All-Star with the Philadelphia 76ers. His father, Dave, was an NBL champion with the Tigers. Jonah Bolden has also emerged with the 76ers. His father, Bruce, had been the centerpiece of the Nunawading Spectres and Southeast Melbourne Magic. There are more than 1 million participants at a local club level, their interest spiked by having a record 11 Australians in the NBA this season, with Bogut set to add to that by returning to the Golden State Warriors. However, converting juniors, many of whom still prefer donning NBA singlet, and even the weeknight Warriors to the NBL remains a key challenge. The fact that there is such a high participation base is fantastic and it's the lifeblood of our sport. But, at the same time, so many people playing from Friday to Sunday, it can make it difficult to find a time to play that doesn't overlap when the kids themselves are playing, Loliga said. Ben Simmons in the NBA has driven plenty of local interest. Credit: Dan Hamilton, USA Today. I think the numbers will continue to grow in terms of participation because we are really in a new golden era of the sport, and what drove huge participation in the first place back in the late 1980s, early 90s, and there were household names out on NBL courts. The league could hold its head high even though there was fantastic product over in the US called the NBA. People couldn't watch it. The NBA, as closely back then, it was only the occasional game on the weekend and the box scores in the newspaper. Even though you can tune in and watch NBA, it's very seldom there is any crossover between a live NBA game and a live NBL game. We think that the more people watching basketball, the better, because that will continue to drive participation, that will continue to drive eyeballs to both codes, the NBA and the NBL. What's next? The momentum appears set to continue. In August, the Australian Boomers will host a NBA-laden US team at Marvel Stadium in one of the biggest games ever staged here. Basketball Australia has allowed Kestelman to negotiate the broadcast rights. Then comes the World Cup in China, when Australia could finally claim a medal, and next year's Olympics in Tokyo. For those with a long memory, though, the NBL had been surging in 1996, while the Boomers also boasted significant names such as Luke Longley, Andrew Gaze, Mark Ratker and Shane Heal. Longley became a three-time NBA champion and Gaze, Ratker and Heal all had stints in the US. Despite this, it wasn't long before the local hoops party ended. The foundations and determination, as Greer noted, appear stronger this time, but, as any coach knows, a sloppy turnover can be a game changer.